So today we are going to talk about the buyer presentation, which for some of you might be very familiar with. With others, it might be something new. To be honest, when I first started in real estate, I wish I had a buyer presentation. I always thought it was imperative to have the listing, but I never thought to have the buyer. And what you'll realize when you come armed with a buyer presentation is that it enhances the sense of professionalism, and the knowledge that you pass on to your client is way stronger when you have the presentation, and they will become a client for life. So without further ado, we're going to start through, and we're going to start on the first slide. By the end of this course, you will be able to discuss all the aspects of a buyer presentation. You'll be able to educate the buyers or your clients on the process of purchasing a home. You will be able to list the important inputs or information that you must receive from the buyer to find the right property. And you will identify the best way to present the realtor's value in a professional presentation. And lastly, you will understand how to meet the service standards to build the business through repeat and referral method. So you have to realize not only is it beneficial to have a buyer's presentation for your clients, it's also beneficial for you. And that will transcend through having clients for life and having repeat and referral business. So here's some pro tips. Where and how you decide to qualify your buyer needs and educate them will be up to you. However, your presentation should be done with the full attention of your buyer, so it is suggested to pick a quiet location free from distractions. So probably the most common one is to go to your current buyer's home. If that's not available, we always have the closing rooms or the private rooms you can book out at any of our offices. And as you know, it doesn't matter where you are. Any of our offices are welcome to all of our agents at any time. And also you could just take them to a coffee shop, a quiet, out of the way place. But it is ideal to have them so that they have your undivided attention, because you are talking about some detail information, and it's important information. Remember to always stress to impress. You're there as a professional, knowledgeable realtor that cares about your client's needs. So for example, I would say you can never be overdressed. You can always be underdressed. So if your client is someone that you don't know, I would always be dressed fairly formal. If it's someone that you know, that you're close to, a relative or a family member, I still feel like you should dress somewhat professional, because I just think it separates that hat that you have from either friend, sister, brother, cousin to an expert in real estate. One thing that is noted on here is most realtors will skip straight to showing homes and never hold a formal meeting. Don't be surprised if they're very impressed with your process and will commit to you using you on the spot. And I'm the same person that's done that as well, where I just get excited. I go to show them properties, and without even going through all the process, what this does is this organizes everything for you. Because when you do a buyer presentation, not only are you pre-qualifying them with information about mortgages and about closing costs and what's involved in it, but that you actually start to understand the requirements they have in terms of location and the property they're looking for and what best fits them or their family's needs. So on your drive, there is this presentation, the buyer presentation, and what I would strongly suggest is that you copy it and paste it into your own personal drive, not the C21 or the one under your C21 email, and then you can customize it the way you want. As you'll see, there's quite a few slides on this, and there's ones that might not pertain to you or what you think are comfortable, and there's other ones that you want to amend or change. So for example, on the introduction, let me introduce myself. You would put your name on there, Century 21, your direct phone number, and it becomes your personal presentation. So the first few slides are the introduction to what you are as a realtor. It says, as a professional realtor, I believe in creating value, providing high levels of service to my clients. I am the hardest working realtor in the business, which I'm assuming is very true. And again, you're going to tell them what the benefits are. You're going to get the best price. You're going to access and have availability to all properties, and you're going to take the stress off them. I think that's the most important thing. They talk about people in life and what's the most stressful, and they say it's childbirth, divorce, marriage, and purchasing and selling homes. So, it is a stressful time. And I think by having that knowledge and portraying to them that you're going to represent their needs and their interests, I think it takes the stress off and makes the art of home buying a little more enjoyable. So this slide is talking about your team, your office, saying that we are the award-winning office, over 700 sales professionals, 34 years in the business, and C21 is the number 15 company in the world. The reason you would put that into your slide is because you want to let them know that you are part of a very strong brand. So when it comes to negotiating, when it comes to multiple offers, that has some merit and some weight. I feel like other realtors or sales agents would have more respect for someone that's from a larger team or a stronger brand than someone that's kind of the mom and pop, because it means that they know that the deal could possibly close, that you're a professional, that you vetted your clients out, etc. So I think that is definitely beneficial to have that in the buyer presentation. Talks about the local roots and the global reach. Century 21 is the world's largest residential real estate network. And this explains, because remember, as a buyer, they could also be a seller. So you're kind of also advertising the fact that not only are you able to find them the right property, but you're able to get them exposure to lots of other things if you're selling their property as well. International listings, website presented on 16 languages and 36 currencies. So this slide talks about your commitment as a realtor to them. This highlights some. You can obviously amend this and change this the way you want, but this kind of hits the top ones, which is to listen and understand your needs, to provide you with the latest in online technology so you have every advantage finding the perfect home. And that is through our network of MLS, as well as Broker Bay, to search out any off-market properties that may be a great fit. So that could be a large benefit. They could say, well, we don't see all the properties that you see. And you can explain to them, by having 700 other realtors, you have access to properties that are exclusive that might not be accessible to the public. Protect them from pitfalls and minimize any legal risks. And that goes down to explaining to them how you'll put certain clauses in their offers. Maybe it's to do with a rural property and its septic and well and home inspections, but you are the expert in that and you want them to know that. Establish a long-term relationship and be a realtor for life, not just a transaction. I think the fact that you're giving them a buyer presentation and taking the time to go through every little detail and answer all their questions before they even have them will allow them to realize that you're probably the best fit for them. And to give them the power of a top negotiator. Mortgage pre-approval. I would say this is a benefit to both people, both yourself for not wasting any time and for the buyer to have realistic expectations. So get them to speak to a mortgage professional. We have in-house mortgage people, obviously, and they might have their own preference. They might already have a mortgage through a bank or a third party. But it's having that conversation and informing them what the difference is between banks and brokers, pre-qualified versus pre-approved. We went through that on the meeting last week, but pre-qualified is very different than pre-approved, where you're actually submitting all the paperwork and going through everything, any debts they have outstanding, etc. And having that information is invaluable because it allows them to know what they can afford, what they can look at, and it allows you to better, I guess, place them into a property that they can afford. And it says, we'll be ready and armed to negotiate your home purchase. And very important here, buying a home is a team effort. We need to have everyone working 100% all out for your client. So this slide talks about deposits and closing costs. So deposits, explaining to your client, there's been a few times where I've shown properties over the years, and then the client gets excited, wants to put an offer in and says, when would I need to have a deposit? And it shouldn't be at that time that you're saying within 24 hours, because as we know, sometimes banks take longer or they have limits or they have to move money around. So it's having all of that information given to them up front so that they're well aware of what the process is. So when the deposit needs to be ready, how it gets put towards the purchase price, how it's held in a listing brokerage trust account. So there is a safety level, and typically 5% of the purchase price, but that can vary so that they're not surprised with anything that comes up when they're about to put an offer in. Also, closing costs. Budget being maintained for closing costs, and the rule of thumb, which I've always believed is 1.5% of your purchase price, that it's not part of the down payment. And that includes the lawyer fees, the adjustments, i.e. property tax, hydro gas, title insurance, and land transfer tax. And that gives you time to go through how the lawyer fees work, what title insurance is, how it protects them, the land transfer tax, and obviously there's the online calculator for that. But having all that information just makes you look like you are best in class in real estate. Government programs. So for first-time home buyers, you're telling them, listen, I'm well informed on the current incentives for you that could help you. The government programs that allow you to borrow to fund your purchase from RSP. And I know that's just been upped and changed by the Ontario government. But obviously, by having this slide in, I would strongly suggest that you kind of read up on that to make sure that you are up to speed if they have any questions. The first-time buyer land transfer tax refund, they may receive a refund from the Ontario government, and the first-time buyer's tax credit. So all of these things are fluid on this particular slide. So we need to make sure that we're up to date on that and not just box standard coming out of the slide. So just be aware of that, but that is invaluable information for your clients. The next is the home buyer checklist. So by having them fill this out, I think it makes it easier for you to understand exactly what the requirements are. You're both on the same page so that when you're sending them properties through either a prospect search or directly through email, that they are seeing things that pertain to them specifically. So the home buyer checklist, I won't go through it all, but is it your first home purchase? Are you currently renting? If you're a non-resident of Canada, do you have funds in a Canadian bank? It's all the things that you need to know to make it easier so that it is a smooth transition when you are presenting an offer for them. Must have for your home. So the must have for the home, which is fantastic because it's going through everything they require. So if you're looking for properties and you're showing them 3 bedrooms, but they have 4 children and they want a 5-bedroom or 4-bedroom home, it's pointless. So by them going through that, they're going to see that you are very up to speed and keen on what their requirements are, and you're going to specify what type of properties you're going to look at for them on their behalf or to show them with them. So it goes through the type of property, the style, the age, the lot size, garage, roof, rooms needed, kitchen features, outside features, square footage. It's all in there. And again, I think this is a definitely must-have slide in the buyer presentation. Home finder system. So this is where you're going to understand where they want to live. So identify an area that you're interested in. I can personally speak to homeowners that are not on the market to see if I can find something for you. So if it's a market where there's not a lot of inventory and they're specific to a neighborhood, whether it's for a school for their children or close to relatives or whatever the reason being, you're explaining to them that, listen, I'll go above and beyond the normal thing. I'm not just going to search on the MLS. I'm going to get out physically and knock on doors and find out if there's any properties that could be available for you. Now, the benefit of that is not only are you doing what's best for your client, but you're also technically creating leads because you could be knocking on a bunch of doors and you have a specific reason to do that and a legitimate reason, which makes it easier. And those people could say, actually, yeah, I wouldn't mind selling my house. And whether your client is interested or not, you now have the potential to list a property. Open houses. Should you be out looking at open houses, feel free to hand my business card to the agent. When people get, well, everyone knows this, I think, but when people get excited about buying a property, they kind of consumes them where that's what they want to do all the time. They're looking online all the time. And there's lots of times your clients are going to say, you know what, we're just going to go to a few open houses. You just want to let them know that they have your business card and that you're representing them. And by the way, when this happens, I would hope that you guys have them signed up to a buyer's representation agreement because what we don't want to have happen is someone snatching them at an open house, the listing agent, which I have a story from an agent that just happened recently where they were about to list a property. The client wanted to go out and look at houses on the weekend. And he said, okay, yeah, we can do that. And they said, well, we're going to go out in our area. You don't have to come with us. They ended up going out and looking at a property that they fell in love with. The agent said to them, well, you know, you can put an offer in. They said, well, we have an agent. Agent asked if they'd signed a seller's rep yet. And they said, no, they hadn't, that they had to still sell their house. And that agent turned around and said, well, I would be more comfortable with that condition of pending the sale of your house if I was listing your property because I know where it would be, the state. And they ended up going with that agent. So just be aware how important a buyer's rep is when you get to the point of actually selling the houses. I personally wouldn't, I wouldn't shove it down their throat, but at the same time, if you had a buyer's rep with you, once you do the buying presentation, I feel like you have a 90% chance that they're going to sign that because they're going to be so confident in your services. Let them know how to contact me if they start asking you questions, and this will give you the freedom to view the home without a sales pitch. So that's the benefit of them being able to go out and open houses. Your own MLS. So you're saying, I will be able to provide real-time access to all board listings. I will provide you with the past sales history, the square footage, the zoning info, the tax assessments, ownership information. This is a perfect time where you can explain to them that we have a customized app called Homespot that can give them all the property history. I know a lot of people talk about House Sigma, which is a good app. Our app Homespot is very similar. It's getting better every day. And what I would suggest is by doing that, they can link to you as an agent. So while you're there at the buyer's presentation, you can say, hey, I have an app that I can provide you with that shows you all the properties in the area. You can do the search. And if you want to see something, it's one click and it goes right to me and I'll book that for you. So that is a great opportunity for you guys to have something that other agents don't in their repertoire. And that's called Homespot. And if you want any information on that or you're not aware of it, just contact me after this presentation. Exclusive listings network. So access to exclusive properties, network with over 5,000 local agents, which is great because the properties that are off market that are exclusive, you have access to. And the geographic area report, which is a comprehensive local area report. And you can provide all that for any property, as you know, through GeoWarehouse, etc. Offer time. This is important because I don't think a lot of people realize that within Stratus or TREB, you actually have plain English documents that you can give them so that they can understand what they're looking at. The forms to explain all the legal language. You can discuss price, deposit, closing date, inclusions, exclusions, rental equipment. You can go through all this with them so that when they're ready to make an offer, they understand what they're doing, what they're signing. So it's not just a thing of authenticate, tap, tap, tap. They actually understand what they're signing. They understand the conditions you're putting in place or lack of conditions in a multiple offer situation. It says, I will present in person if possible, and every presentation is unique. I will use my expertise to negotiate the best possible deal for you. This is where I would explain to my client that it's not just about price. Sometimes clients get disenchanted when there's multiple offers, or even in a normal situation where they're saying, well, we can't really afford the asking price, maybe 95% of asking. What you can say to them is, okay, well, there's other benefits to an offer than just the price. There's the closing date that we can kind of accommodate the sellers on. There is the deposit. To look at a strong deposit, which shows a definite commitment. There's the conditions you put in place. There's so many different things to an offer that make it more exciting for the seller if you can't just look at price. Negotiations. I will review all recent sales and listings with you. I will develop a negotiation strategy that suits the situation, as we were just talking about in the previous slide. Each agent handles negotiation differently, which is absolutely true. I will come to the negotiation table prepared. I will negotiate on your behalf, and I am seen in the industry as a tough negotiator and respected agent. And what I would say to any of the new agents out there, what I've noticed personally in my career is that no matter who you're dealing with, there's nothing wrong with being tough, but I would say always be respectful to the other agent. So if you're the cooperating brokerage, you're putting offers in on properties, I would always make sure that you treat the other agent with respect. And the reason for that is because you're going to realize throughout your career that you're going to come across these same agents over and over. And I have personally found that if I'm pleasant and direct and professional with an agent, 2 years down the road, there's another offer going in. Automatically that agent lets their guard down slightly because they're like, oh, it's Steve. I had a good relationship with him last time. I know he's a straight shooter. And that way you can get the deal done. Or if it comes down to 1 or 2 offers, they might just take yours because they feel it's easier to deal with. So that's important. I don't think you should always beat up another agent. You can be firm, you can negotiate effectively, but I would always be respectful. Multiple offers. Okay, so this is a situation that comes up every few years, as we know, 2017 now, even though it's cooling down. Explaining to them the challenges and differences in a multiple offer environment. So having them prepared with the mortgage letter, the bank draft, strong conditions. Bill 55 now protects buyers from phantom bidding. What is a bully offer? Explaining that, explaining a preemptive and a bully offer and why you would do that, when it's allowed, when it's not allowed, presenting in person when possible. I know that's not as common anymore because of COVID. And a lot of times the listing agent won't allow you to do that. So that's something you could suggest I could do. But it's not necessarily going to happen every time, and maybe explain that to them if that's left in. And I will advise and present your offer effectively and professionally. So this is where you would also explain about your revocable time on an offer and the importance of that, what happens in this process, what the expectation is. So when it comes to a multiple offer, I would definitely be in contact with your client all through that, holding your hands, because it is a difficult and stressful situation for buyers. The home inspection. Explaining to your buyer what a home inspection is and the importance of that. Providing the detailed report on the electrical, structural, plumbing, and mechanicals of the house. Any deficiencies that can be addressed, any minor deficiencies, the cost range, and typically the time that's required for that. I would explain to the buyer that you would be at a home inspection as well as they would be, that they could ask them anytime, any questions they had. And also explaining to them not just home inspections, but septic and well, the importance of having those inspected, what the cost could be, and the detrimental issues if there are problems. And I think just having that inside this buyer's presentation allows them to understand when they hear about these things, why people do them, and the challenges when people waive them in a multiple offer presentation or situation. Heritage Concierge by MOVESNAP. So I've already told the story before, but I didn't even realize, when you have so many services that are provided by Heritage, which is fantastic, it goes the wayside, which is unfortunate, but you have to pick and choose. There's so much available, the ones that you use. I wasn't even aware of MOVESNAP. One time I had a client contact me, and the client said, "Steve, I can't believe how great your after sales service is. I've been using this thing, and it's told me where all my utilities are and who I call in the schools, local schools." And I had no idea what she was talking about until I called into the office and realized that they had auto sent the Concierge MOVESNAP to her, and she was using it. So that was fantastic. So I would strongly suggest that you talk about that because it is a great after service, and it allows you to keep in contact with your client without spending tons of time doing that. And it shows the client that you have gone above and beyond the call of duty. Choose a lawyer and buyer visits. So choosing a lawyer to close the transaction, you can provide up to 3 top local lawyers. Any agent that's new and doesn't know what lawyer to use or suggest, they can always ask other agents. A lot of lawyers are similar, but there are certain lawyers that I find what make great lawyers is the fact that they'll pick up the phone and answer right away when you need to talk to them, that they're accessible. And it doesn't really matter whether they're local or not anymore, because a lot of things are done over Zoom, but you just want a lawyer that's accessible, knowledgeable, and maybe someone that you've dealt with in the past that always makes sure that the deal closes. And again, they say provide 3 top local lawyers. You don't want to look like you are providing somebody or you're biased against some. So always try and give at least 3. Explain that your office will prepare all the documents and forward the copies to the lawyer, that they don't have to do that they can contact you for the additional visits. So make sure when you put an offer in on behalf of your clients that you're always doing at least kind of 2 visits for measurements and letting them walk through to take a look at maybe any contracting stuff they want to get done when they purchase the property. Be prepared for buyer's remorse. The house may not show the way you bought it. I think telling them ahead of time and explaining to them that, it is an emotional transaction as well as a non-emotional one. And sometimes things look different if you've seen the property in the daytime and the first time you saw it was at night. explain to them that they're buying 4 walls and that they can make it the way they are. But I think just having that in this presentation explains to them that there are some pitfalls sometimes, and that we have to kind of make sure we pick the right property for them. And 1 to 2 weeks before closing, you will meet with the lawyer. So just explaining to them the process, whether that's in person or over Zoom, that they will have a personal meeting with the lawyer to go through all the steps in closing the property. Closing day. This is something that a lot of realtors don't explain to their clients, and then it comes to closing day and they don't realize why they don't have the keys for their house at 10 o'clock in the morning with the truck running, waiting for access. So closing can be from anywhere from 12 o'clock to 6 p.m. I am not notified of the closing, so give me a call when you get in, which is true. Usually the lawyer's dealing direct. Keys are typically picked up at the lawyer's office. So I'm seeing a big change in that, which I'm kind of happy about, is the fact that what I typically did when I was selling was I would leave the keys in the lockbox at my listing. So when the buyers arrived, they could literally take the keys out of the lockbox. I provide the code once it was confirmed that the transaction had been completed, and then I could pick up the lockbox a day or two later. It just makes it easier for the buyers, and it makes it easier for the sellers. It says the seller may be late moving out. Be prepared and check the items included in the sale to make sure they work. There is a time limit on that in terms of making sure that all the appliances are working correctly. Washer, dryer, fridge, stove, all of those things. You want to make sure when you get into that house and explain to your buyers when they get in, they want to check all those things. And plan your move in advance. Be prepared for possible delays. In-house financing. We have some fantastic people in-house. We have George here with us in Newmarket, saying that our consultants have access to over 30 financial institutions to ensure the best available rates. So what you want to explain to your buyers is how important it is to have their financing in place prior to looking at properties. It makes it smoother. You can explain to them that they won't get emotionally attached to a property that they can't afford. So you're kind of pre-qualifying your purchasers to ensure their ability to obtain the necessary financing to purchase their home. And even more value with C21. You can explain to them that we can offer them discounts on products and services that they might need, which all pertains to houses. The pods, portable on-demand storage, if they're trying to move some stuff out of the house. The Dulux paint, budget rental car, national rental, the brick, prestige hotels and resorts. They actually do have some great discounts. So if you don't know anything about those, give us a call and we can find out, and you can pass them on to your buyers, to your clients. Let's work together. So you're explaining to them that you will receive professional guidance throughout the process, from needs assessment to possession day. You'll receive follow-up services and continued support beyond the move-in date. And this happens with an exclusive buyer's agreement. So as you're getting closer to the end of the presentation, hopefully they are more and more convinced that you are the right person for the job to help them find their home. And this is why you explain to them why you need an exclusive buyer's rep. And by doing that, I think they feel confident in the fact that you're saying, when you sign a buyer's rep, I have a fiduciary duty of care to make sure that I provide you with the best services, guidance available in real estate, which I'm assuming you will do. And then first and last, this is the ending of it, saying thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and hopefully you have a new client.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like our video, please hit the like button, the subscribe, and even the little bell to get notifications, just so you can stay in touch and watch more of these great videos.